Hi there. It's Saturday, November 11th, and it's time for Proverbs 11. Now, the New American Standard calls this entire chapter Contrast the Upright and the Wicked. To tell you the difference between good people and bad people, basically. Okay, verse 1. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Okay, other versions says this imbalanced weights. Okay. And up until about 30 years ago, before the computers and everything took over, everything was done on scales. Almost everything was sold by weight. And it still is. But it's not. They don't use scales anymore, and they should. Back in the, in the day, especially when this was written, everything was sold by weight, whether it was produce or dry goods, or seed, meal, flour, food, fruit. Everything was sold by weight, and every single dealer would have a set of scales, and they would often cheat on those scales. Okay, it happened more than you think, enough to where Solomon wrote about it a lot, about imbalanced scales, where they would make you think you were getting a pound of something when the scales were imbalanced and you were only getting, 13 ounces, 3/4 of a pound, and they were selling you a pound, and they would get the money for a pound but you wouldn't get a pound. You would get 3/4 of a pound because their scales weren't balanced. Okay. In early England, this got so prevalent in the baking industry that the king decreed that anybody caught with imbalanced scales would be executed. And he was serious. They were really complaining about when they went to the baker, the scales were not balanced and they were cheating. And he found out they were cheating, and he made that decree. If I catch you cheating on your scales, you will be executed. Well, this scared the bakers to death. So they started giving people extra. Instead of a dozen, everything was done in 12s, but instead of a dozen, they would give him 13. The 13th one is free. Take a free one. That came to be known as the baker's dozen, because they did not want to get caught cheating on their scales and therefore, lose their head over it. So they were selling it more, And a baker's dozen is still a common term, even today. Well, today, with scales, they're still cheating on scales, God finds it an abomination. You can't find an old box of cereal, but if you use a box of cereal, and it was a smaller box, and 1 pound, net weight, the inside weight, 16 ounces, 1 pound, for $1.50. And you would buy your box of cereal. You can't find a pound of anything now. Okay, your box of cereals now are imbalanced scales. They're selling, the box is bigger, but there's only 12 or 13, or sometimes not even 8 or 9 ounces in the cereal in a bigger box to make you think you're still getting as much as you are, but you're not. Even today, those are imbalanced scales, and the Lord finds that an abomination, that they cheat us on everything. Okay? Not just the old days. And that's just verse 1. When pride comes, then comes dishonor, but with the humble is wisdom. When you see somebody on TV, somebody that's a hero and somebody that's done something good, if you see him strutting across the stage, yep, that was me, I did it, you don't think much of him. Well, when a hero saves lives and does something, and he's very humble, just doing what I had to do, that's a wise person. And people are more drawn to a humble person. Remember that. Be humble. Humility is a great trait to have. Okay. When pride comes, then comes dishonor. Okay. Verse 3. The integrity of the upright will guide them, but the crookedness of the treacherous will destroy them. Okay. That's pretty straightforward. Yeah, here's a good one. Riches do not profit in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. Yeah. If you die rich, you still die. Same size box, same size hole. Man. Jesus said, store your treasures in heaven. That's by doing good deeds, by helping the poor, and not being prideful. Okay. Number 4 goes with number 2. Okay. Riches don't profit in the day of wrath, but the righteousness delivers from death. So, righteousness, be good. Help people out. Get out of here. What is this? I can't get that thing. There it goes. But when pride comes, then comes dishonor. So when you do help people out, don't brag about it. Those are called philanthropists, and they have their reward already. Okay. Verse 5. The righteousness of the blameless will smooth his way, but the wicked will fall by his own wickedness. Yeah. We're all waiting for that. The righteous of the upright will deliver them, but the treacherous will be caught by their own greed. Boy, that's true, huh? A lot of these people are being caught now. It's only a matter of time. The whole house of cards is going to come falling down, I'm talking about government and rich people running everything. Verse 7, when a wicked man dies, his expectation will perish, and the hope of the strong man perishes. When a wicked man dies, his expectation will perish, and the hope of strong men perishes. Verse 8, the righteous is delivered from trouble, but the wicked takes his place. Yeah. That needs to happen more. With his mouth, the godless man destroys his neighbor, but through knowledge, the righteous will be delivered. Knowledge. Wisdom. Highlight that. Verse 10, when it goes well with the righteous, the city rejoices. When the wicked perish, there is joyful shouting. Yeah. There are some good cities around. Hard to find nowadays, but there's a few. Some small towns. Verse 11. Yeah. In this verse 10, when the wicked perish, there is joyful shouting. Waiting for that, huh? Verse 11, by the blessing of the upright, a city is exalted. By the mouth of the wicked, it is torn down. Right. You could pick out these cities, the blue cities, falling apart. Falling apart. Verse 12, he who despises his neighbor lacks sense, but a man of understanding keeps silent. That is overwhelmingly in most of the Proverbs. Solomon says his best advice is to keep your mouth shut. Okay, just don't say it. Okay? If you despise your neighbor, you lack sense. If you don't like your neighbor, just stay silent. Don't say anything. Don't interact. He who goes about as a table bearer or waiter reveals secrets, but he who is trustworthy conceals a matter. Okay? Yeah, that's gossip. Okay? If you hear somebody saying something privately, waiters hear people talking. That's why he used he's talking about waiters, people who wait on tables, table bearers, will hear people talking as he putting the plate down, and he'll go over another. You know what they said? That person is doing this to that person. Okay? If you're a trustworthy person, you're not going to listen to that. And if you do hear it, you'll conceal the matter. It's not your business. So keep your mouth shut. Verse 14, where there is no guidance, the people fall, but in abundance of counselors there is victory. As long as they don't want to get paid $1 billion a year. And you've seen this, like, 3 or 4 years ago in, Oregon. They practically burned the whole city down. Why? There was no guidance. Okay. Verse 15. He who is guarantor for a stranger will surely suffer for it. But he who hates being a guarantor is secured. You lend money to strangers, or if you co-sign for people, he says that over and over again. Solomon does. Don't co-sign loans for people, especially strangers, It's one thing. I mean, if you co-sign a car loan for your kid, you're usually going to end up paying that car loan and not getting the car. Just don't do it. Verse 16, a gracious woman attains honor, and a ruthless man attains riches. All right. And we already know that the riches, you can't take them with you, and it doesn't make you happy. 17, the merciful man does himself good, but the cruel man does himself harm. All right. You only hurt yourself. The wicked earns deceptive wages, but he who sows righteousness gets a true reward. He who is steadfast in righteousness will attain to life. He who pursues evil will bring about his own death. Right, eventually. The perverse in heart are an abomination to the Lord, but the blameless in their walk are his delight. Or in their way. Well, the perverse in heart are an abomination. Evil hearts. That word perverse can mean a lot of things. And we won't go into that. Assuredly, the evil man will not go unpunished, but the descendants of the righteous will be delivered. Right. We're waiting for this, aren't we? The evil man will not go unpunished. As a ring of gold in a swine's snout, so is a beautiful woman who lacks discretion. Yeah. They're talking about Hollywood, huh? There's women who lack discretion, who are just, I like it when women wear clothes, not wear next to nothing, because it's not meant to be that way. The only person meant to see that is your husband. But they go around wearing next to nothing and get mad at people for looking at them, when what they want is for people to look at them, silently and sin in their mind and get a perverse mind. And it's as good as a ring of gold and a pig's nose. So is a beautiful woman who lacks discretion or taste. 23, the desire of the righteous is only good, but the expectation of the wicked is wrath. You only want good for people, even your enemies. Love your enemies, pray for your enemies. 24, there is one who scatters, yet increases all the more, and there is one who withholds what is justly due, and yet it results only in want for more. Yes. If you pour out your blessings, everything will increase. I mean, that's been proven over and over again. Even when you pour out your blessings, the Lord will fill your cup. The more you pour it out, the faster he'll fill your cup. So people that don't know that you're giving to the needy and pouring out blessings, man, this guy gets everything. He gets all the luck. No, he's pouring out his blessing, and it increases. If you withhold it, you'd have your cup, it's full, I'm not giving to anybody, you won't get any more. How come I never get any more? Well, you always want, because you don't pour out your blessings. Okay. Number 25 goes with that. The generous man will be prosperous, and he who waters will himself be watered. Okay. It goes right along with 24. He who withholds grain, the people will curse him, but blessing will be on the head of him who sells it. Okay. He who diligently seeks good seeks favor, but he who seeks evil, evil will come to him. Yeah, if you're looking for trouble, you'll find it. That's what my mama said. You look for trouble, you're going to find trouble. But if you only look for good, you'll find good. You should always just look for the good in people. Okay? We're all made in God's image. He who troubles his own house will inherit wind, and the foolish will be servant to the wise-hearted. Right. Will inherit wind. Something you can't see, something you can't catch. Verse 30, the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who is wise wins souls. Right. If the righteous will be rewarded in the earth, how much more the wicked and the sinner? That was Proverbs 11. There was lots of interesting stuff in here. To contrast the upright and the wicked. We talked about verse 1 in length. False balances and false scales. Verse 2, I'm going over my highlights. When pride comes, then comes dishonor, but with the humble is wisdom. Verse 4, riches do not profit in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. You live forever. Okay. We highlighted part of verse 6, but the treacherous will be caught by their own greed. Yes, because greed is never satisfied. We highlighted part of verse 9. Through knowledge, the righteous will be delivered. Knowledge. That's what we're doing now. Gaining wisdom, gaining knowledge. Study the Word. Read your Bible. It has all the answers. Verse 10 talked about a city. When it goes well with the righteous, the city rejoices. And when the wicked perish, there is joyful shouting. And when all this comes crashing down, there will be joy in the streets. We highlighted verse 12. He who despises his neighbor lacks sense, but a man of understanding keeps silent or keeps his mouth shut. Okay? He who goes about as a table bearer reveals secrets, but he who is trustworthy conceals a matter. Okay? Old country singer said, mind your own business. So if you mind your business, you won't be minding mine. Okay? So, you wonder where some of these things come from? Right here. Proverbs 11:13 basically says, mind your own business. Verse 14, when there is no guidance, the people fall, but in an abundance of counselors there is victory. You saw what no guidance happens in some of these cities where the cops are specifically told, stand back, do nothing. And the city falls. Yeah. We highlighted verse 21. Assuredly, the evil man will not go unpunished. Right? Verse 23, the desire of the righteous is only good. Okay? If you're righteous, you don't desire evil on anybody. And I mean anybody. You don't desire evil for them. That's the Lord's business. You're to love them and pray for them. Think about all the stuff going on in the world now, and people fighting people, and, you might not agree with any of them. But the desire of the righteous is only good. Okay? Verse 24, the one who scatters yet increases all the more. Okay? The more you pour out, the more God will pour in. The more you give, the more you'll get. As long as you're not boasting about it. Okay? And if you hold on to everything you have, you won't get any more. All you'll do is want. Okay? And 25 goes with that. The generous man will be prosperous, and he who waters will himself be watered. Okay? So that's Proverbs 11. We went kind of into overtime here, but that's all right. There's lots of good stuff in there, lots of good knowledge, lots of stuff to think about, you know. So read it again, listen to it again. Do good. Mind your own business. Keep your mouth shut. See you tomorrow.